mama fought her demons. She couldn't give me.
What's good, y'all? Welcome to Fishing with Poppy. And for our first show, we had to bring in the heavy hitters and the young guns.
Hello, everybody. Coyote Fishing from Coyote Fishing. Check me out on YouTube.
What's up, y'all? My name is Mason. You can check me out on Instagram. It's DFW Pond Hopper. So it's happy to be here.
I'm Doug's Fishing Journal, UrbanSportFishing.net affiliate. Do a lot of crappie fishing. Y'all check us out.
When was like your first
Like my
memory?
first memory.
Like where you was like, oh, I like this.
Man, I was at Lake Ray Hubbard. My old man took me to Lake Ray Hubbard and caught me a bass for the first time when I was a real little boy. And I was hooked on that since. I mean, I caught him on a rattle trap. So after that, I was hooked. You know, didn't really look back after that.
Man, I've been fishing exactly like he said since I was in diapers, but it has to be when I was maybe 4 or 5 years old. We always used to sneak into this pond out by my neighborhood with my brothers. And I just remember like moving a fence and like sneaking in through there, and we would always catch like little bluegill and sunfish, but I was so young, it was like a different experience every time. So, I mean, that's why I like to fish now, because it's always different.
I've been fishing very young age, and I started out fishing in the 70s. But, you know, back then you fished for food. I mean, that was the reason why people went fishing. You know, you didn't fish for pleasure. You went out to get, catch fish for food.
Before it was like a thrill, and the food, catching your food. And you had, I seen on Doug's page, catch and fry, But like now, it's therapeutic. I get on the water, it's like, oh, okay. Like, this is it. What is fishing to you?
You have jobs where you get a little stress and you go out to the lake and then you can forget all of that stuff. And, you with nature and you get a chance to, just release yourself and enjoy just, it's a great feeling.
Yeah, so I think I'm on the same pack as you. Fishing is definitely a zen for me. I have a lot of other hobbies where I can get that competitive drive going. Like I play golf or I disc golf, and so do that with my buddies, and that gets the competitive nature out. So when I'm out on the water, it's definitely just really peaceful, calm. And then at the same time with bass fishing, there's a lot of different artificial lures you can try out. So it's just like a progress of getting better, because there's always a new technique or something out there that you can try out and catch fish on.
What I love about it, I do a lot of species, and we were talking earlier, I do a lot of species of fishing. It's always about putting together that puzzle for me, like figuring out what they want to eat today, figure out what they're doing today. And I also do eat, so I do eat.
Friday boys up.
Yeah.
Talk more about different species. What's like your method when you go out to the water? Did you start that day by saying, I'm going after crappie today? Or did you get to the water and say, ooh, this looks like?
Well, usually I got a specific arsenal of rods, so I got stuff that's tailored to certain species, so I pretty much know what I'm going for when I leave the house, It might not always play like that, and I might end up doing something else, but I usually have a goal when I leave the house.
I mean, for me, I mainly bass fish, so I always have usually something that's going to be slow, more of a finesse kind of style of a bait, and then also a search style kind of bait, like a trap or a spinner bait, just so I can cover all the methods, flip to the trees and the cover that are there, but then also cover as much water as I can.
Do you go deep for bass, or do you more up on the bank?
It just depends on the time of year. So right now in the winter, if you want to catch a bass, you go find the deepest part of the pond or where you're fishing at, hard bottom rock, because you want to stick to the stuff that's going to be the warmest in the water. And then you also want to go slow moving baits,
Are you throwing something that's making noise, or are you throwing something that stinks or has a trophy around it?
Yeah, so a little bit of both. So like I always have something that's small and kind of finesse, a worm or a jig that's going to be slow and it's just going to sit there and kind of undulate and have some sort of action. And then maybe a spinner bait or a rattle trap where it's going to put off flash or put off like a noise in the water, just so I can cover my bases.
That's dope. Wally, what's your method or your system to casting and then different species that you go after?
So I'm mainly fishing for crappie, and so It depends on the condition of that day. So, for instance, you know, I'm fishing out of a kayak all the time. If I feel, I'll start the day off with, you know, you have a fish finder on there, you scan, try to determine what level they are, and then you swim the bait at just above the crappie head so that you can see, can you get the strike that way. So the very first thing I try when I'm trying to figure out what they want is I try to just swim in the bait above them. And then if they don't react to that, then sometimes I'll go past them, drop it down past them, and then bring it up and see if they'll strike it on the move up, because sometimes they like to move up. And then another technique is you toss it out and let it swing back towards you. And sometimes they like that presentation also. So.
You know, crappie hit a little different than bass or even bluegill. What rod are you using?
So the rod I prefer is an ACC crappie stick. I use a 10-footer with a rear seat 10-footer. So you'll have a better chance to catch a bigger one. So smaller fish, you know, they're trying to eat so they can get bigger. And the bigger fish can be a little more picky.
I noticed in your videos, you fish quietly with precision. It's like, what? Have you seen this? Ain't a whole lot of, it's just, and pulling them in. Is that part of it, or is that just something that kind of?
No. So, like when you're in the creek and you have lay down, and you have, you know, the tree has fell into the water. And what that crappie likes to do is it likes to get in there, and either they're hiding from a predator, or they're hiding from the bait fish.
Are fish usually around a structure and you can just tag and pull?
I noticed that it's usually like, it depends on what time of the day normally. Like if it's a lot of cover or like a lot of shade around the tree that they're around, they might be sitting away from the tree. But if it's a bright sunny day, they're gonna be tucked in pretty tight. So it depends really. You just kind of.
You had a haul, I think it was like 100 crappie.
Yeah, we had 75, but yeah, definitely.
Hey, that's close.
Yeah, definitely. For everybody else.
I try to get any game boards involved.
Yeah, so yeah, it was, have you ever seen 100 crappie? Do you want to? And 3-Man Limit was the name of the title. That's on YouTube too.
Yeah, y'all check that out.
Check that out. But yeah, we definitely follow the laws. We keep our limit, but we definitely caught over 100 crappie that video.
Yeah.
You know, that's what I was trying to get at.
What was the technique, or what did y'all use mostly?
Oh man, like I make my own baits. Like I don't use anything for the last about 5 years. I've been making my own lures, and I don't use anything but my own lures. So I make a minnow style bait, you know, to cover if they want the minnows that day. I make a smaller shad presentation bait. I make a bigger shad presentation bait.
Oh, that's nice.
And I get it done. If you see, so,
Man, hey,
I get it done.
75. Hold up, let's take a break, and we'll be right back after these messages. And we're back, and we're going to check out some lures from each of our anglers.
This is the bait I like to use in muddy water, you know, in really stained creeks. This is a bonehead stump bug. It's got a sickle hook with a orange jig head on it. I like to drop this inside the brush piles and see if I can get the crappie to come up. If they're really finicky, it's one thing you can do. You can change the presentation of the bait. You pull off the little legs and make it a little smaller, and you can probably entice some finicky eater that day. That's another bonehead jig called a brush glider, and I usually fish it with a blade. I like to fish this one around bridge pylons. It actually glows, so if you get down into some deeper water, you'll get a little glow to it. This bait here, sometimes I pair it up with a white jig head, but it has a blade on it, and they call this thing a gray ghost minnow. This one is really good around bridge pylons. It works good in creeks also, especially up shallow. And I also like to fish it with a blade.
What's up, y'all? These are my 3 favorite lures, and so I picked all of these because you're going to be able to catch fish all year round on every one of these lures that I have here. So the first one is going to be a swim jig, and this particular one is by Guggen Baits, but I recommend ones from Strike King, from 6 Cents. Those are both going to do you really good. On the back of here, we have a Reaction Innovations kicker, or little swimmer, I think it's called. And so what this does is, you know, in the winter, I can throw it out, get it really deep, and just really slow roll it in. You're gonna catch fish on that. In the spring and the summer, when the grass is really thick, you can just rip it right through there, and they're gonna hit on it after that. And to me, this is just the most versatile bait in bass fishing. You can go slow, you know, you can go really fast, go moderate, pull it through structure, fish it out in open water. It's just something I rely on a lot when I'm not catching fish on anything. And so these two, it's the same exact bait. This is a Strike King red eye shad. And so what this does is pretty much just represents a shad in the water. A lot of people know these as rattle traps. And so this is the same thing. In the winter, I'm gonna fish this really slow, kind of close to the bottom, trying to keep it out of the structure. In the spring, just really moderate right around grass lines. And then in the summer, I try to burn it really fast over the top of grass lines. And even if I get caught, I can rip it out of there and maybe elicit a reaction strike. And so I have 2 colors right here. So this is gonna be mostly for clear water. So where fish can see that. It looks like pretty much any shad you're gonna find in there. And then here is where I'm gonna fish in your mostly stained to muddy waters. It's gonna have that black profile so the bass can really pick it out, and in the water it's gonna pretty much look like a bluegill to them. And then right here, this is gonna be my favorite slow Texas rig, weightless, you know, drop shot Carolina rig bait. This is called a Zoom Z Crawl. Zoom Z Crawl Junior, sorry, there's one that's a little bit bigger, but I fish a lot of ponds and small water, so I generally think a little bit smaller baits do better in those kinds of situations. And so kind of the same thing. If I'm fishing in dark water and muddy stained water, I'm gonna stick to the black and blue. If I have clear to lightly stained water, gonna go green pumpkin or watermelon red. And so this can be fished on a Texas rig. You can put this on the back of a jig like this and fish it the same way. Just again, a really versatile bait.
All right, if you guys are familiar with the channel, you've probably seen these baits. You probably haven't got a good look at them yet. So here you go. This right here is the Flatfish Junior. It's made by Urban Sport Fishing. Of course, it's us. This is the Flatfish Shad, and this is the Flatfish Minnow. Now, the idea of it is to mimic a dying bait fish. So, like Mr. Wiley was saying a little bit earlier, crappie generally feed up. You want to have a bait above their head. So, what I decided I was going to do was make something really big, really gaudy that they were going to see, and make something that would mimic a dead bait fish. So when they looking at this bait, it's sitting there horizontally, you know, in the water column. Looks like a dying fish. The glide is ridiculous. So when you drop it down there, it's doing a whole lot of gliding, a whole lot of wiggling. And when it sits still is most of the time when you get the biggest bite. But if you wouldn't eat it, I mean, I know you would eat it. So it's like, it's a perfect replica of the way we fish in Texas, man. We got shad, so we fish shad. I know if a lot of guys fish minnows, if you like minnows, and there are places where they eat shiners. Ain't nothing like it. It looks just like a shiner. Glides just like a shiner. If they get a little finicky and they want a smaller profile, I get smaller. But it's still the same scenario. They look up, they see it's flat, they come and eat it. So.
All right, mine is very simple. Gooey Gulpers, Green Giant. This is, oh my God, you're so boring, but you catch a lot of bass. And this is the Icy Blue. Don't get stuck in the weeds. I haven't tried this color yet, but we'll see once spring hits how it'll do. Gooey Gulpers. And that's our segment, and we'll be right back after this.
The Vader!
The F-150, yeah. 50, yeah. I'm F-150, yeah. 50, yeah. The F-150, yeah. 50, yeah. Instagram the Vader.
All right, y'all, we're gonna wrap up this episode. Let's go around the room. Where can they find each of you at?
Okay, guys, Coyote Fishing. Check me out on YouTube. If you're a beginner crappie fisherman and you're a beginner jig fisherman, you know, you come and check my channel out, and I'll give you some techniques to get you past your buddy on your catch count.
Hey y'all, this is Mason again. So y'all can find me on Instagram at DFW Pond Hopper, and soon to be on YouTube too. I'll make sure to drop that release on Instagram. But if you're a beginner bass fisherman, you have any questions, or you just want someone to come along, feel free to send me a message and I'll be happy to help.
It's Dove's Fishing Journal on YouTube. You can follow us on Instagram and Facebook at Urban Sport Fishing. You'll see the big guy with the fish in his hand. You'll know who it is, and the guy with the dreads, man. We having a party on YouTube. Y'all come check us out. Join the family.
That's it for us. We got many more anglers in the area coming in, and we hope you enjoy. Subscribe today.
Another fucked up day. On the grind. Lifetime blown away. Working night shift.